Well, hello, everyone. I'm Rob Nielsen, CEO of All American Leadership, and today I have the privilege of introducing one of our faculty members, Patrick O'Mahony. Pat is a retired Navy captain, graduate of the United States Naval Academy, and today we're going to drill down into what makes Pat tick. Where did he come from? How did he get to being the leader that he is today? And what are some of the guiding principles that have helped him along the way? So, Patrick, good morning and welcome.
Hey, thank you, Rob. Great to be here.
So, to kind of set the stage, give us that snapshot of how you got to be here today. A little bit about your life journey.
Originally from North Carolina, a small town called Southern Pines. It's right next to Pinehurst, which I think everybody can connect with as a storied mecca of golf. Um, uh, Son of a Marine, and my father was an enlisted Marine for enlisted career Marine. My mother was an artist, graduated from Parsons School of Design, and raised in a household with two older brothers. Um, Managed to survive that and matriculate through high school into the Naval Academy, and then uh, from the Naval Academy, use that as a springboard as a career surface warfare officer, and retired recently, about 2 years ago, after 25 years of service.
Wow, outstanding. So, um, what influenced you as a kid to to want to go to the Naval Academy?
Well, mine was a little bit of an unnatural interest in the academy. I remember going to a high school basketball game when I was a junior. And if you know about the academy application process, that's a little late to decide you want to go to an academy. Sat next to my English teacher, and her son was a midshipman at the time, um, and had a ring on his finger. And as you know, the academy rings are pretty sizable. So I said, "Hey, what's that ring?" And that's really where I first learned about the Naval Academy. At that point, I knew of an Army Navy game, but thought it was really regular Army, regular Navy playing one another. I didn't know it was two colleges playing one another on on an annual basis. So from there, it sparked an interest, and I will tell you that I was probably fueled by a number of naysayers that said I didn't have the aptitude, scholastic or otherwise, to go. And so um, that started my journey. I was When I graduated, I wasn't accepted into the Naval Academy. Uh, the bottom line was they wanted to see a better collegiate performance in academics. So I went to a community college where I leaned in and focused and reapplied, and I got selected. So second try seems to be a theme throughout my life on a number of challenging opportunities, and it's worked out. So uh, that was a bit of a my unnatural journey of a late desire to go to the academy. I had never been, never even visited the campus. Was shocked when they sent me plane tickets free of charge. Uh, Got to the airport, thought I was going to have to take a cab, and there's a Naval Academy bus waiting to take prospective midshipmen to the academy. Shocked there, thought it was, pretty amazing. Um, I arrived 2 days early at the suggestion of my Marine Corps father. Said, get there early, recon the area and understand what you're walking into. Boy, did I not understand it. I stayed uh, the night in Bancroft Hall, which would later become my dormitory, and all the upperclassmen were just as nice as they could be.
Huh.
It was Hotel Bancroft. Went out in town, had a nice steak dinner, came back. The next day was induction day, and after we were took the oath and entered into those hallowed halls of Bancroft Hall, things changed significantly from the night before. Those upperclassmen weren't so nice, and I had no idea it was coming. I didn't know about the plebe experience. I didn't know about the plebe summer experience, and so uh, maybe going in cold was the way to do it. I probably should have done a little bit more research on what to expect there, but it all turned out okay.
I love that. And I love your reference to the Army Navy game. I remember as a kid always thinking, wow, how do you get picked from all the ships and all of the Army units? If you raise your hand, and like, how do they pick the guys that are going to get to play and where do they get the uniforms? Um, yeah, so I can relate to that. And I love the reference to like initial failure and then having the grit to go back and go at it again. Where does that come from?
Well, my parents were divorced early, and so I experienced a lot of autonomy and independence when I was younger, probably too much. But I understood that if early that if things were to be, they were going to be through application and hard work. And I, I started washing dishes, bussing tables when I was 11 or 12 in a local restaurant, and understood that really kind of self agency and and application of hard work was how how luck was formed. And so I got pretty lucky, and I've been pretty lucky throughout my career, and I attribute that to uh, a little bit of grind, a little bit of grit, and a lot of blessing.
Wow, thank you for that. So, very successful naval career, captain, command of several ships. Um, what are like some key leadership lessons or principles that you picked up along the way, or that you developed internally that you think contributed to that success?
Well, uh, you've heard "no guts, no glory," right? The phrase "no guts, no glory" kind of. I went to the academy expecting to play soccer. Uh, I played throughout my high school years, was moderately successful, didn't get officially recruited, but ended up not playing soccer, but playing rugby, which was very formative in that grit you spoke of and the determination. Um, from that, I realized that you've got to kind of step up and step out and take a little bit of risk if you want to experience success. And I would say that probably one of the principles that I carried with me throughout my naval career was just that, jumping right in, not being hasty, certainly being thoughtful, but being bold and accepting that there will be risk and there will be failure, and you need to be okay with that, with the fact that that is part of the process, but never be okay with failure. Um, from my first tour all the way to my last tour, I would consider a lot of how I operated to be bold, um, to have really thoughtfully managed risk, and to exhibit a habit of care for the people, for the sailors that make the mission work. I would say that those are some of the principles that really laid the foundation of my success. Um, I wanted command early. Why did I want command early? Which I was in command of a minesweeper early in my career. I wanted command early because I wanted to know if I had what it took to be in command of a ship, if I had the mettle, if I had the courage, and those were formative times as well. I learned how to lead a crew. I learned how to swallow pride, manage the ego, um, a number of different attributes were formed early in my career by taking bold action and trying to be thoughtful about risk and overall taking care of people. And so I wouldn't call that necessarily a boilerplate for everybody, but it was certainly a blueprint for me. And I carried it through in the various opportunities I had in the Navy. Um, and here I sit today looking back on a 25-year career, and I'm very satisfied. I have no regret and hope that I was true to myself while exhibiting that habit of care that I wanted to stay committed to throughout my career.
Love it. Well, so looking through that 25-year career and even after now, a couple of years into a successful civilian career, Um, have you formed um, like a sense of purpose and guiding values, core values that you use today in how you act, how you interact with others, and how you make decisions? You know, what is your purpose and your core values?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I appreciate you calling my 2 year foray into the private sector a success already. I would say that I still have some miles to travel before I could categorically call the 2 years I've been out here in the wild successful. Grateful for that. The beauty of the transition from what I did in the Navy in uniform to what I'm doing now, the consistent thread there is service. Um, I've been blessed to be offered an opportunity to continue service in a different way. Um, and I think that um, that would probably be my first reflection is that what I've experienced thus far and what I'm doing, purposeful, meaningful, intentional, and consequential, really is tied to service in a different way. Um, and not everybody gets that opportunity to have that nice transition into something that they would consider a continuation of what they did in uniform. Um, and if looking back on my career, I think initially I thought, well, I didn't think. My approach was, you know, be successful in whatever endeavor I was applying myself to. That was the focus. Is source credibility. You have to drive for success in what you're doing, and I think the next step, again, that maturation process as I evolved as a human and I suppose, as a young leader, is help others succeed in the endeavors they're applying themselves to through experiences and wisdom gained through that personal kind of actualization. Um, and then, throughout, and I think that, if you stitch it all together, it's that habit of care that I keep on coming back to. The people are the engine for success wherever you go. And that's been a common thread here in my current career. uh, you know, Ships are a beautiful thing if you like ships like I do and fell in love with destroyers and the Navy in general. But my true love was my sailors. And when you look at a marvelous piece of gear, whether it's in the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, or Navy, the engineering of it all is wonderful, but it doesn't go without people. Um, and it doesn't go without the commitment of those people. And I think if you pull that thread and the commitment of people, it comes back to you know the value, how we're expressing value, and how we express value for our people to one another every day, being seen. I think when you think about the root of apathy, really kind of apathy comes from a lack of care, a lack of being seen. So I know I really just wove a very wide web of thought, and hopefully what that's doing is leading to a path of purpose. And so that's what I find now is if you put people at the center of what you're doing, no matter what you're doing, whether it's building houses, building ships, driving ships, being a politician, or whatever you're doing, I think you can't lose. And so that's what I've had the opportunity to do here is people as the purpose, um, and that focus has led me to some early success here in this civilian career that I've transitioned to. So I'm really excited and grateful for that as well.
Well, I love that. And as you were introduced to us, it was your reputation and known passion for service and building the people that really resonated for us when we approached you to join our team. I'd love to hear from your perspective what it was about All American Leadership that was attractive to you and made you want to consider adding to or piling on top of your daily responsibilities to work with us?
Well, it's difference making work. Um, that's a hyphenated word. I think we're going to hyphenate a lot of words. Like-minded community leaders joining together to learn together and to help others, learn at the same pace or at their own pace. Uh, when Doug Kunzman, talked about AAL, the energy he expressed was something I'm familiar with. It's a passion, and I wanted to know more, and I had a hunger to understand more about um, what the mission was of AAL, and the more I understood, the more I wanted to be a part of that. The more I thought I could learn more about what these successful community leaders have done and are doing in their own lives, as well as being part of the AAL team. And so uh, it was probably less motivated by the desire to get in front of people and talk about leadership, and more motivated to be alongside like-minded individuals who are driven to make a difference, who are driven to share life experience with the hopes that um, their perspectives and the wisdom gained along their journeys will help others. And so that's really, really what the motivator was, to take more interest and then ultimately be invited to join the AAL team.
Wow. Well, we are certainly humbled and gratified, or humbled and grateful to have you included as a team member. Um, so you've shared a lot about your journey, the things that are important to you, why you do what you do. As we close, what's something about Pat O'Mahony that we don't know that we should?
Well, you probably find some a lot of Navy footage in the ether. Perhaps a little bit of rugby, which I played a lot of, and and I really identify with the culture of rugby. It's more than just a smash up, uh, you know, gentleman's game played by barbarians, right? It ties together all the things that I believe are important in business and in life. Um, I'm a voracious reader, and uh, we, some of the more um, I think probably interesting bits of history are shared by James Bond Stockdale, and who was, as you know, 7.5 years, 8 years as a prisoner of war in the Hanoi Hilton. Um, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Most recently, James Kerr, Legacy, which was written a book, I mean, just full of just gold, just pure culture gold on the All Blacks. A storied franchise or national team that will always be legendary in all circles. Um, Pressfield, the warrior ethos, Gates of Fire, the Battle of Thermopylae. Um, so you ask what's kind of shaped me, who I am, what you might not know about me. Perhaps that gives a little bit of insight in my appetite for more. I'm a nonfiction guy. I really like. I haven't always liked history. Well, let's just say I haven't always had the patience for history. Um, but I've taken more of an interest as I've kind of grown up as a leader and as a person and a lifelong learner. Um, and I have this overwhelming sense that there's so much more to know, and there's so much more to learn, and so little time. And so that's really. But if you wanted to really understand who I am and kind of what drives me, or an Admiral Stockdale used to say, and I think he said this in Love and War. He and Sybil had a number of things they talked about, but never forget who you are, where you're from, and what you believe in. right? And that really has been the cornerstone of how I've tried to live my life. Um, but back to that appetite for more, uh, you know, one day at a time. But the more I live, the less I know, the less I understand about um, everything, and the more I want to know. And so there's this tail chase going on with Pat O'Mahony that is, hey, how do I learn as much as I possibly can? How do I squeeze every minute out of every day to do that and make an impact? And so at this stage in my life, having transitioned from a 25-year career in the Navy, I'm interested in making an impact. I'm interested in seeing others succeed, um, not at the expense of others, but others succeed, in spite of themselves. I want them to, realize their potential. And if I can invest in that on a regular basis, that for me is my vocation. That's my calling. I do believe that, for 25 years, I lived a vocation of service. I think this is a continuation. I think I truly believe in every fiber of my core that um, I was meant to serve, and and to be able to do that after a quarter century of naval service in uniform, to do that now and hopefully to do it into the future is really something that just fuels my fire. That's what I want. I want to make an impact. I want to make a difference. So um, that probably meandered around what you need to know about me, but um, you know, North Carolina has a state motto, um, "Esse quam videre," to be rather than to seem. So, um, you know, tie whatever cliche you'd like to that, um, deeds and action over words. Really, talk the talk, walk the walk, and my investment in those around me and seeing them succeed is really what drives me every day. And some days, you know, are more successful than others. Um, but when you're in a leadership position, I think um, you know the gratitude, the blessing that it is to be in that position, I think can never be lost. And for me, like I said, one day at a time. Some days you're hitting long balls, and some days you're striking out at every turn. But that's for me. That's the beauty of it all. It's an adventure, and you never stop learning about not just who you are, but how you can adapt. And I think probably like you think that I think humans are endlessly adaptable. So
Yeah.
if you're a lifelong learner, I think the adaptations will never stop until you take your last breath. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about this new career as I've stepped off here in 2 years. I've realized some really success, and I'm grateful for it all. And you know, I'm eternally blessed by a desire to make a difference, and I don't think that appetite will ever change.
I love it. I love it. And I love that quote from Admiral Stockdale. Never forget where you're from, who you are, and what you believe in. That's a great way to close. Patrick O'Mahony, faculty member, All American Leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. Grateful for you.